Hello and welcome to Redeeming the Time. I'm your host, Jacob Wells. This is my dad, my co-host, Keith Eric Wells. And I cannot help but look at the map right in front of me on your computer. And I was just asking you about it. I am a nerd, and I have worn off on you a little bit, I hear. Because you're playing a map game now, too.
Yeah, I'm playing a map game. Yeah, this one used to be here, and it cracked, so I bought a new one. Now it must be European because they've got Europe as the center instead of America as the center. And, yeah.
Yep. So I'm just looking at all these different countries. Yeah. I just never really cared until the last 6 months.
All right. What have you got us into today? This series, oh my word. I think I'd rather study in-depth
physics
more
again
on Revelation.
Yeah, for sure. So part of the reason we're doing this Unraveling Worldviews, this series that we're doing, is because they are prominent and there is false teaching, false ideology, false whatever you want to call it, that has permeated culture, and this is one of them. And so today we are talking about abortion. So as if you're watching, you can see our faces. This is a tough one, and it is
well, it's not tough. It's just how to say it. As a Christian, we know what we believe. It's how do we say this lovingly, and
with boldness.
If you're watching this or listening, I ask you just to give us 10, 15 minutes of your time to at least have an open mind with why we think what we think, and because we've made it such a black and white issue. Well, that's not even the right way to say it. We've made it such an issue of just turning people off because it's just a political issue to folks. It's not. Well, I mean, people use it as a political issue, but it's more than that. I mean, far more than that.
Yeah.
This is definitely how you view God, His teachings, mankind that He created, personhood, all of those types of things.
Yeah. So my original goal with these.
What was your original goal with these?
My original goal was to start the conversation because, like you said, as soon as someone brings up abortion or even evolution or whatever, any of these that we're going over, next week we're going to be going over LGBTQ, like that, the identity problem there. The conversation stops. It either becomes an argument where nothing gets heard, and it's just two sides saying their opinion and nothing happens, or
personal attacks, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Or it becomes, I'm no longer listening to you. I'm getting out of the conversation as fast as I possibly can.
Sure.
So I think as Christians, we need to have conversations. We need to talk. We need to hear the other side and have compassion toward the people that believe the other thing, but also stand on what the Word of God says. And so that is kind of I think we're going to be very cautious, or not cautious, but very cognizant of how we say certain things and take our time with how we say.
At least I'm hoping to. Yeah.
Today in this podcast. So, but that is, we're trying to do this in love, but do it based off of the Word of God.
So I tried to study this, just so whoever's listening I tried to study this from a mindset of millennials and Gen Z. Like the right, that's not even the right. The legality of abortion in Roe v. Wade occurred when I was a baby.
1973.
Right. So in your lifetime, anyone 30, 35 and younger, they've never known it, 40 and they've never known anything other than this. So
the legality of it.
Right. So your generation, and those a little older than you and those a little younger than you, you're right on that edge. Generation very skeptical of authority, deeply empathetic with people where they are, justice oriented, and responds to coherence versus a command.
Yes.
If they're not a follower of Christ, even some that are followers of Christ, they're dealing more with coherence versus commands.
What do you mean by coherence?
That it all makes sense. So they're very empathetic with people that are marginalized, and that this command doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work with the society that I see around me, that type of thing.
They need to understand the why. Yeah,
sure. There you go. Yeah. Which is what you told me at the very end, So, I'm trying. I don't want to lead with rules or that kind of thing. I want to lead with reality. We were talking. These aren't rules. But we do want to open why we believe what we believe in the Word of God. This isn't rules. This is what God tells us about who we are. That's different.
Yes.
What he tells us about who we are versus a rule are completely different things.
Yeah.
You want me to share some, or I know you've got some written
Yeah,
down.
go ahead.
So I broke this into 3 different parts. I broke it into our identity or personhood while we're in the womb, and then how God is the author of life, and then the sanctity of innocent blood.
So do you have Psalm 139?
That's my first one.
Psalm 139, verse 13 through 16. For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them.
So God sees, he knows, he even names before birth. It talks about the substance of who we are, referring to the unformed, complete baby. Or the world uses the word embryo, scientific term for that. So God's knowledge, first of all, God's knowledge extends even to our earliest stages. All right? No matter if you look like a 1 week old in the womb, or if you look like 100-year-old person walking around the earth. Okay? So therefore, there's a couple other ones here. Jeremiah.
Before that,
go ahead.
I have God created the mother.
Yeah.
God created the baby within the mother, and the baby is separate from the mother in the womb. Yes, the mother is being made. The baby is being made within the mother, but it doesn't say that David was different in his mother's womb. It wasn't.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The personhood of
yes,
of who he is. Yeah, very good.
It does not say anything about that. Jeremiah 1.
Jeremiah 1:5.
Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations.
So this one's really interesting. Where God's calling. This doesn't happen often on the calling part, but definitely establishes the personhood before the formation occurred. Not at birth, but here we have the formation in the womb prior to that.
Before I formed thee in the belly,
right?
I knew thee.
Yeah. We have the famous one of Elizabeth in Luke 1:41 through 44. And it came to pass that when Elizabeth, this is John the Baptist's mom, heard the salutation of Mary, the mother of Jesus, the babe leaped in her womb. For lo, as soon as the voice of thy salutation sounded in my ear, the babe leaped in my womb for joy. She's saying, Elizabeth is saying this then to Mary. So John the Baptist, in utero, responded spiritually to the presence of Jesus, who was also in the womb and younger. So the Greek word used there, it's the same word used for a newborn baby in Luke chapter 2:12. So the Greeks saw this, they used the same word. There's no distinction of the preborn and the born child there. Last one I'll use for this on identity is Isaiah 49:1. The Lord hath called me from the womb. From the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name. Once again, God sees that child. He names them. He has a calling. Those are hallmarks of a personhood in that. Okay, so that's one of the reasons we believe this. You might not, but this is one of the reasons why you're asking. You might be asking, why would they think this type of thing?
We believe that life is precious to the Lord.
Correct. Yes.
Because of that.
And because God is the author of life. In Genesis 1, I'm not going to read these, 26 and 27, he tells us, we were made in his likeness, the Trinity. We were made in the likeness of God. We are the image of God. If a preborn child is human, they bear the image of God. And therefore they deserve the protections of that dignity. Later in Exodus 21, this is when he's given the law out, and it talks about if a pregnant lady is hurt, if men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit, the child, depart from her, he shall be surely punished. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life. So God sees this situation as a child. Now, not everyone agrees on that one, but if it causes a miscarriage or premature birth, there were legal penalties. And this is in the nation that God established within Israel. Okay, did not he that made me in the womb make him, and did not one fashion us in the womb? Job 31:15. So God is the author of life.
And he values it.
And he values it, yes. Yeah. Which then goes, to the next. The sanctity of innocent blood. There's God's hate list in Proverbs 6, verse 16 and 17. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. And one of the last ones there is hands that shed innocent blood. Human life is, if any human life is innocent, a baby, a preborn child who's committed no act, made no choice yet in life, you don't get more innocent than that in life. Psalm 106, verse 37-38. Yea, they sacrifice their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and their daughters. Now that's for born children that have been born already, but this is this whole. There was an ancient pagan god of Molech where they would heat this image up. There was flames in it, and they would literally put their child on that, and it would roll into there. They would sacrifice their children, and God sees this, the innocent blood there, this heinous crime that they were doing, and you will hear a lot of people call what we're doing in today's society as the modern day Molech with what's going on. So these are the high level verses of why we believe, why God has the identity and personhood of anyone that is conceived. God's the author of life, and he takes the shedding of innocent blood seriously. So with that, we can go into.
Yeah, I just have a sentence that I wrote. Got it throughout the theme of the Old Testament and the New Testament. If you look at it from the bird's eye view, there's a value on life with with the law, with the kings, with the prophets, with the gospel, after with the church. There is a value on life, and the idea that each person is loved and can find their identity in Jesus and God with no conditions. It is He loves you. He wants to have a relationship with you, and we believe, based off of the verses, that starts at conception, where there is life that has been created. And so from that point to death, you are loved, and God wants a relationship with you.
So that's why we believe what we believe. So, I mean, now let's take this from maybe a non-biblical standpoint, just from looking at the society around us. Maybe answer some questions why we believe. We'll start with science here. When you open your biology textbook, at fertilization, what occurs? Genetically, something distinct, living, a human organism exists. That's not a religious claim. That's science. Distinct, living, human organism. That's embryology 101. And the honest question then becomes, at what point does a human organism, I'll use that word, stop deserving protection? People say viability, consciousness.
What do you mean?
Birth.
What is viability?
Viability, that it can live on its own without, in this aspect would be off of the mother. You could feed it separately, type of thing.
Can live without the womb.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not gonna.
Okay, so yeah, we'll get into that. So all those are philosophically arbitrary, and viability is an arbitrary statement.
People have different ideas of what.
Right. The person in hospice, are they viably able to survive? No, not at all. That person that has extreme diabetes, are they viable to life? Well, okay, there's, the person that's not conscious but sitting there. The person, a baby is not viable outside of someone helping them. Those types of things. So, if we wouldn't draw. Oh, go ahead.
Where I was going with that before, any person, like with the developmental stage, of course the baby is not going to be able to, because it has not developed to that point. If you were to take me and
you were telling me about it. Go ahead. I'm still trying to buy into what you're saying here. How you're saying this.
So the example that Callie and I were talking about was, if you were to put me in space, I am not viable there. Okay, I'm not in the element that I can survive. If you put me underwater, if you hey, go survive underwater, I cannot survive in that. That is not. Now, obviously, we don't have gills, we don't have that type, whatever, but that's not the environment yet. The developmental stage of the baby at 23, 24, whatever the weeks is that viability starts in people's minds. They're not there yet. Does that mean that they're not a life because they can't do that? Well, if that's the case, like you were saying, then if that's what defines what life is, then there are many other examples that would not be life as well. And so to me, that argument is
why would you draw the decision based on location or developmental stage? Okay, that makes sense. Another way to frame it is human right issue. Now, I find this the most hypocritical of things. So you've got a generation. You guys are the human rights generation.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief, it's everywhere. everybody cares about. I mean, I didn't even know the word marginalized until your generation started getting older. I care about the marginalized, the voiceless, the oppressed. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm not belittling that.
To discard it is where the heartless, incompassionate.
Correct.
Well, Christians just don't care about that.
No.
Then, no, we do.
Yeah. So you're for the marginalized, for the oppressed. So if I'm drawing someone into this, who's the ultimate marginalized group? A child that could be aborted. They're the most defenseless voice.
Vulnerable.
Zero representation. They can't protest, vote, march, tweet, you name it. They're the most marginalized of this. So from a human rights standpoint, they're the ones that should be protected the most. Every human rights movement in history has been about expanding the circle of who counts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except the pro-life position. It's inconsistent with their arc, and which we'll go into why we believe that's true. But about ready to explode, aren't you?
I'm trying to think of. All right, can I just go through something?
Yeah,
and then
sure.
I think I will round it back.
Last week, he's slowing down because last week I felt like it was a pinball going around, and I didn't feel like I got anywhere with the one on evolution, and so I'm trying to frame this one a little better.
So I have this piece of paper from my research, and
yeah,
so it kind of goes in logical progression in my head.
In your progression.
So can I go through this and then we'll talk about it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I had the layout of the beliefs and the timeline. So for me, I was trying to understand it from both sides of, okay, what is actually being presented from both sides?
All right.
Because I've only heard one side, really. I only needed to hear one side because in my opinion, life is
your worldview. Your
yeah.
worldview is in line with the word.
So I was trying to write it down and look at it, write it down, really research it, and then take a step back and then look back at it and have a better understanding of what's going on. I looked at the history, and then I have an observation of from a millennial / Gen Z person.
Okay.
Because I don't know what I am.
That's not me, for sure.
So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 different big arguments that pop up, and just pieces of this. So the slogan, or the big thing that's on poster boards, that type of stuff, and thing. My body, my choice, from the pro-choice side. There's not really one that I could find, but basically a fetus has a right to life is the other side.
Okay.
You know what I mean. With safety and public health, people will still do it if it's illegal, which could cause health issues. With the other side, that's a slippery slope toward other respects of different life.
So you're just throwing these out right now?
I'm just throwing them out,
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Complex situations with rape or other things along that line.
Yeah.
It should be available for these situations, is the pro-choice. Pro-life, this is adoption is often used as that's where we point people toward, because you're still giving that person the right to live.
You're going to see a lot of gray in that one.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Socioeconomic.
That's easy for you.
Socioeconomic impact. Raising a kid requires financial, emotional, and social resources. Those are burdens that can become joys, or we also point to adoption there. We realize that is a thing.
Yep.
I'm in the midst. I have a 5-month-old. That is there are life changes. There are serious life changes. We're not belittling those. When the baby becomes a life, when is that? When it can live outside of the womb, or all that viability, or then moral ethical responsibility to the mother, her needs, her health. Once life is created, it's our responsibility to protect it from the pro-choice side, or pro-life. And then you have what is a fetus, those type of things, and like that's a big talking point, and that's where most arguments go. When I look at these, I see, I've talked about this a little bit, and I don't want to get political. This is not a political debate in my mind. This is life. This should not be political, but it has become that. But it has split our nation in particular to two sides. When you hear the word adoption, we immediately do one of the two things of you get defensive and there becomes an argument, or you tune somebody out because you don't want to get into that. Speaking from my experience there.
Mm-hmm. You gotta stop and actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
And it's an uncomfortable conversation.
It's a lot easier to walk away.
Yeah.
So these two sides, we've talked about that. That is, and I keep coming back to it with all these. It is a playground for the devil in America, where he has made these hot button topics split into two sides, which causes strife, hate toward one another, and it also normalizes sin and wrong by the use of fear in different ways. So with that, I tried to look at the history of when did this even start becoming.
Yep.
And the website, the few websites that I saw, there's different things. I actually went to a website contrary to my belief. Like,
sure.
I went to a pro-choice website and saw their timeline. So, real quick here, in 1880, it was restricted unless the patient, instead of using the word mother, unless the patient's life was at serious risk. So they were able to save the mother and that type of thing.
Okay.
In 1810...
1880. Okay.
1910, so it was strictly medical. 1910, abortion becomes illegal at every stage, but they note that 95% of the doctors were men.
Okay.
That's in there. 1930, there were 2,700 women that died from illegal and unsafe abortions because it was illegal. So, but they did it anyway. And 1 in 5 maternal deaths came from doing that.
From illegal abortions.
Yeah. 1955, there was a conference on abortion, which gave doctors more power to determine the use of abortion. Kept saying the word patient. And it said patient no matter what the economic status. So they made it affordable. And then 1973, and I didn't go past this because this was the point, and then it just says there's really no need in my head. Okay. 1973, Roe versus Wade, the constitutional right to privacy. This is the sentence here. The right to privacy is broad enough to encompass a woman's decision whether or not to terminate her pregnancy because of the privacy. And obviously there was more in that. I mean, Roe v. Wade was not just that one statement. I'm not trying to just pinpoint one thing that helps my argument, but
and since that time in America alone, we've had 1 million people a year killed through abortion, and it has become the political pawn of both sides. On the right, many claim that they're pro-life and they use that as a calling card, but yet then when they're given the opportunity to defund and to do those types of things, they don't. So it just has become a political pawn, and something to be not what the other guy is on the other person on the other side. So, politically, I don't really want to talk about it more than that.
I don't either.
So,
I have
go ahead. Right? Did I interrupt you?
Wrapping it back
Okay.
just before so I don't lose my thought.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the way I try and look at pretty much everything is history and where did we come from, where has it progressed. There are certain, I want to say this as lovingly, I am not coming after any that, like, I'm trying to be very, but this is just observation from what I'm, and
this is an interesting take. You told me some of this beforehand, so go ahead.
There are certain topics that have been pushed by both sides to be hot button topics, like you were saying. These did not start until it was possible for these views to be pushed into mainstream culture, 1880. Obviously, not obviously, but there had to be abortion happening before 1880. But in America, where we live, where it is a spiritual battleground in America.
Right.
It started in 1880 and really ramped up through the progression. Now, in 2026, we're in a world where that is a viable option for people. When there is a pregnancy, that is an affordable, what is viewed as an affordable and safe option for mothers to do.
That's questionable, but
that's what I was
that's
viewed.
how it's promoted. Yes.
For me, this is not a political thing. We are talking about life here, at its core and at its most vulnerable state. And I do not want, by no means, I think anybody should lack compassion when discussing this. But there is truth. That is truth.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time subscribing to any idea or belief of what we call or what we're living in the enlightened age of different things, or a culture that is, in my opinion, the most misinformed and selfish people to walk the earth. There is so much information that oftentimes whatever is the first thing that they see is what people believe.
Or whichever feeds what we want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the issue of abortion, in my opinion, has grown as comfort and selfishness has grown. From 1880, when they were trying to survive, going into the time of war, going into the Great Depression, they were not thinking about these things. A little bit, yeah, because in 1930 we see that. But from then, we have prospered as a nation. We have gained a lot in a lot of different areas. We are the greatest nation in the world, and I truly believe that. But with that has come comfort and selfishness in every area. And that is the pattern we see in culture, and I believe that these topics, especially abortion, has grown in that because having a baby is not comfortable, and it is not very self-serving.
Yeah.
And so I do not think that is by chance or is random.
That's a good take. And all right. Well, you want to tackle these one by one?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah. So this, what do you want to start with?
Let's start with the my body, my choice. All right. So this ties in exactly with what you're saying. I'm not going to dismiss this. So let me just, I got 3 points here. And you can take away, add.
Yep.
So a preborn child, I'm going to use that term, has its own distinct DNA. It has its own blood type, sometimes a different sex, if it's a boy inside mom. It's not the mother's body. Okay? Bodily autonomy, that argument, if taken to its logical end, would justify terminating any relationship where one person is dependent on another's body.
What are the limits to it?
Yeah. The newborn, once again, person on dialysis, a child on life support, all those. So the question isn't autonomy, it's whether one person's autonomy can justify ending another person's life. That's the issue that I see there, which probably goes into that other question you had. What was that?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that.
Does the right to life include the right to use somebody else's body? If the fetus is that one?
That's unbelievable.
Is that what?
Yeah.
So if the fetus is a person, does it have the right to depend on the mother's body? And then it just throws the question on the forum was
that is the most mechanical way of talking about life I've ever heard.
And it throws in without consent.
Yeah.
So
okay,
the baby the baby has to ask to use
to be
the mother.
To be developed inside the mother's womb. All right. So, all right. Let me. I've got a couple things down here. Level 1 with this. Christians believe genuine bodily autonomy. Okay, we believe that. The body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Okay, we believe that. Forced medical procedures are a violation. If I made you cut your ear off, I'm keeping this clean. If I forced, we believe that's a violation of human dignity. All right. No one should be compelled to donate their organs to give their blood, to give their bone marrow, without consent of that. So that's a conviction. That's an okay thing. You're right. That bodily autonomy, it's real, morally significant. We believe that. I'm looking through my notes here.
Yeah, you're good.
So we have that. The second part with that, the problem of this breaks down with this is the connection between two strangers is artificial. It's involuntary, that kind of thing. A pregnancy is the opposite of that. In the vast majority of cases, a pregnancy is the result of a voluntary act, right? Keeping it clean on both parties, knowing that the possibility of coming together is going to create life. The child isn't a stranger who invaded. The child came from the parents. The relationships is not the relationship that created that the baby is not an intrusion. The relationship was the origin of the baby. So the origin that's the moral issue here. I've got down here, law recognizes this. We have no legal duty to save a drowning stranger. Okay? But we have a legal duty to take care of our own child. Right? So there's an origin and an ownership that goes with that. Because you brought the child into dependence on you. Your responsibility. So when you say a child doesn't have the right to, they didn't ask for my permission, this isn't oppression on you. It's responsibility.
Yeah.
That's the key, is the responsibility. So pregnancy isn't just a use of a body like it's some parasite.
Transaction.
Yeah. Like they're plugged into you. A pregnancy is biologically designed relationship by God. So when you don't believe in God, That makes a little more sense why you would think that way. The last part with this that I think is the whole act of omission versus commission. All right, when you go to abort a child, withdrawing life support from somebody and allowing just death to occur, that's omission. All right. That's hospice, where slowly we allow the person to just die of their natural causes. Abortion's not that. It's commission. You're going in, you are using a chemical or a surgery, and you're actively ending a life.
Yep.
That's a big difference.
And that's
on that. So.
And that's where my head immediately goes to the pregnancy care centers, where we have friends that work there.
Yeah.
I immediately go to, if they just take the step to see that relational part of it.
Yeah. Was it 85%? 85%?
As soon as they see the baby making that decision to do that, or the commission, that 85% don't do it, because it's not an omission. It doesn't just happen if you don't do anything. You have to make that decision to do it. And that's where my brain goes with it.
Yeah, so we just gave reasons, the whole my body, my choice. Will person, that's why. I mean, and I don't know why a person, I don't know if someone will stop long enough to actually listen to that. Because all I see is screaming and yelling, and I hope someone would take the time. We're not being cruel. We're looking at this from the real standpoint. It's not restriction. I've got down here. It's protection
of the vulnerable.
Yeah, protecting a preborn child. This is, God does this. It flows from his very character of who he's not trying to control you. He has these things for you. He assigns worth to every person. That's the opposite of a cold controlling. That's the one of the things. You're just trying to control me and control my. No, this is God is the opposite of controlling and being cold. He is a father that says life is worth fighting for. And the same God who says don't abort, he's the same God that provided redemption and healing and, adoption of you into his family. He's there. So
I think that dovetails into the socioeconomic impact is what the whole thing. This is not... This is what I said earlier. Raising a kid requires financial, emotional, and social resources. That is the reasoning of some. I can't do this. I can't, for financial reasons, whether it's financial or I can't do this. I'm not with emotions, or I don't want to have a kid because I want to live this way and not this way. A baby is not a parasite, and even when it is born, if it gets to that point and you do decide to have the baby, now we point, if you really cannot, and seek counsel with that adoption, that is where we typically point people toward. And we know people who have adopted. Yeah,
we know a lot of people. We know people that have wanted to adopt. And that is one thing I wish, if there was one thing I do wish government would step in on, is making it more affordable for an actual family to do. There are some ministries, we have some friends, I didn't ask them, so I'm not going to share their name, that they had an organization that helped with the cost of that. They sent letters out to people, and we got to donate toward helping that, and those types of things. So those funds are available. But even if you're a mom that decides, or a couple, maybe it's a single mom, maybe it's a young couple, married or unmarried, at this point, and they decide to have the child, as a church, we have to, by saying this, it cannot be disconnected from who we are as a church. That means we need to help moms with resources and support and prayer. We have a children's ministry to help to teach. We have our nursery has supplies. We give money to both of the pregnancy care centers, the larger two in this region, for that reason. Not because we're pushing it off, but because we know that they have the instructors, they have people that teach, that can help a young mom and a young dad, and they can show them, they can provide the clothing and the diapers and the wipes and the furniture, and help them to grow in their relationship. We have a church that has the ability to care for people within the church, the needs that are there. So the pro-life position, I hate using that term, but it carries a cost, and we as a church and us as Christians we have to be willing to bear that, and that means adoption, that means counseling, that means the community that's needed in with this. So we're not saying this from a standpoint of preaching at someone without loving them. And I guess I'm talking more to the camera than I am to you on this. But yeah, that's the hard responsibility that comes with it. And so when someone says we're one side and not the other, no, we're seeing what needs to be done there, and we wish more young ladies and young couples would take advantage of that.
So for me, the view of a baby, the view of having a kid or having kids has been contorted, or just what's the word I'm looking for?
That's a good term.
Where it is a burden, and it is something that I don't want to do because I want to continue. I've heard that.
Your generation, that's a thing within itself. I interrupted you, but just having children in general is like we wait later and later and later because they're a burden to what we want to do versus the blessing that God's given us.
So whether or not going in that way, but pointing it back to abortion, you are pregnant, and the view of that baby doesn't change a lot of times. This is a burden within, I have to make a decision on this, and the easiest is the worst.
That's
but the one that is perceived as easiest.
That's the right terminology.
Is get rid of the burden.
Yeah.
It takes work. You raising me took a lot of work.
Right. Every parent.
But I think you would say, and obviously you wanted kids.
Yeah.
But those burdens, in quotations, can become the greatest joys in your life.
Yeah, without a doubt. And
the view of the baby, I think that's one of the starting points. If I don't know, if I have a conversation how are you viewing this? How are you viewing that baby? If it's a burden, that is a human being, and it can become a joy, but the perception of it it's completely different for some people, and
I think we're almost to a point where it's almost like a video game. Where, we don't want to have a child now, so this child, we'll just have, this one was aborted, we'll just have some later. That's a human being that is now
did not have the chance.
That was killed.
Yeah.
And they did not have a chance. yes, you might have another child, but it is a different child. It's a different person.
Yeah, it's not a preloaded.
Yeah, it's not.
Preloaded.
You're not
ones and
having
O's.
that same child later. Does that even make sense? I
Yeah.
don't think people think that way. Obviously, they don't.
I believe you're right in that.
Yeah, that is just
the view of the baby is
and
not
the problem.
not the same across the board. Is
Right.
what I should say.
And the problem is, once it has occurred, then the guilt then becomes a harshness, and that it is directed out toward others, and we see this constantly. There's a heartache that goes along with that for the rest of life. There are health issues that come. None of that's talked about. This whole chemical abortion. You go listen to what Nadine said at one of our services about the conditions that come with that, and it is not
that are
what
not told.
It is
before.
not what it is being advertised as, and it's a health issue obviously for the child. The child's killed, and it's a health issue for the mother as well. That lasts a long period of time.
Yeah.
Let me go back to a second. More of a pastoral type mentality on this is, the trauma of crisis pregnancy, it's real. There's going to be people, maybe you're listening to this and that's your situation. You didn't plan on this. It's real and it's terrifying. Maybe you're 16, 17 years old, or you had a whole life of where you were going to go with your degree, and now you're pregnant, and how am I going to do this? And the church hasn't always done well with that, but I think the majority of churches have turned their mindset on that. They're there to help, and God offers help through that. If there's a sin situation, he offers forgiveness, definitely offers healing through this situation. Those that have even gone and committed and done an abortion, he works and he helps to build there too. But just because the system was originally broken doesn't mean we just give up. We build a better one, and I build a system, and I think churches have now on this. So
yeah, I read something it was on Reddit. So
take that.
But it was But it was someone's real thoughts. I guess real, whatever you mean,
sure.
Whatever real is, where the church sits on their high horse
yeah.
and say, you don't do this, and then there's a person. They're like, well, it was a comic thing,
yeah.
like not a comic, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Drawing.
Cartoon.
And it's sitting on a high horse or whatever, and say, don't do this, and the lady, okay, can you help me? And it's like, no. It's like,
no, that can't be. That can't be.
That is, if you don't hear anything, that is not what we are.
That's not what
this
we're
is
saying.
that is the opposite of what we're trying to do here. So,
you want to hit the hardest one?
Yeah, this is the one that everyone's thinking of right now. Are they going to talk about this?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
we're going to handle it.
I have it under complex situations.
That's a good term.
So
I've got it under handling rape and incest.
Yeah.
Arguments.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The overall thing is that abortion should be available for those situations because they did not ask for it, obviously, and it became it was a situation, a terrible situation,
sinful situation that has occurred to a person,
and now they are pregnant, and so
of all the sins, it is the greatest violation to a person. So we're not being glib about this. This is one of the hardest things to discuss.
So I do not like when I'm not saying we, not you and I.
Yeah.
When the counter argument to that is, well, it's only 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
I do not like that.
Okay.
It is a truth.
Right.
but that is belittling the people that are the
True.
1 and 2%.
No. So no, the only reason I would bring it up would be to say that it is 1 to 2% of all abortions that happened in the United States. And what the argument I have is the other 98% are being justified by using the most traumatic situation that has occurred in a person's life. And they use it as this rhetorical door to me, that's the part that's cruel.
Yes. That makes that situation, those situations, that explains those in a worse way, in my opinion.
So I don't want to have a kid because I went out partying and, we got pregnant because we were just messing around, and I don't want the kid. And I'm not belittling someone. I mean, this happens all the time. And now I'm trying to get that right to kill my child, and I'm using that person that had a traumatic situation.
That is going through more trauma.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the most without a doubt. So what's the core question here? Does this? And I want to just present this, all right? Does the circumstance change the nature of the child? The child was conceived in rape or incest, is still genetically distinct and fully human, innocent of the crime that was committed. That's
what do you mean? Like, the child is not responsible for the actions of the father. Yeah.
Made in the image of God, known by God before formation. The crime was committed by the rapist. All right?
Or whatever the situation. Yeah.
So, executing the child, killing the child for the crime of the father, that's not justice. And it compounds then the tragedy with the second act of violence against another innocent person, the child. Now, the common argument then, and I understand, I truly do feel it and understand where you're going with that this is more trauma to the person that was, to the lady that had this against them. But we're thinking everyone involved here in this. The Bible tells us we don't punish the children for the sins of their father. And he doesn't give a context outside of that. I would encourage you to, there's a lady named Rebecca Kessling. She was conceived in rape, and listen to her testimony if this is a situation you know someone in. And let them speak. She's going to speak to this more than anything we could say.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage you to do that. As we look at this, this is a situation where, by all means, we have to come alongside a person. Many survivors of rape have had abortions, and now they're carrying both guilt from that as well. Others have kept the children and had pain that comes with that. The Lord is there for you. He tells us that he binds up the brokenhearted, and he'll restore us, and we have to hold to that. And this is where we are with this. So.
Yeah, when researching this, obviously you're not like happy, go get like.
Yeah, you told me these subjects, and I was like, oh my word.
And that question, that circumstance, those situations, they have what you say, stuck in my crawl.
Yeah.
I have not been able to stop thinking about it. And we do not want, obviously, we don't want anyone to have to go through that or make that decision.
Yeah.
It feels, I don't know, as someone that likes to fix things, I want to give you an answer that really just, yeah, okay, that makes sense. This is not one of those situations.
You've got to work with this. Christians are not pro-life because of some political alignment. There's no hatred there. We're not naive about the hard case. I keep using that word lately. God stepped into a broken world as a helpless infant, depending entirely on a young woman's willingness to say yes. And it's interesting that God used the incarnation as the ultimate argument. God chose vulnerability, dependence, and smallness. He chose the womb. And that alone should tell us something about how he views what happens inside the womb. So I'll end it with that. You feel free if you want to share.
Yeah, so just to wrap it up, I don't think we should do a joke.
I don't either.
This is the reason, going back to the goal of doing this series, is to hopefully shed light on what the Bible says and why we believe what we believe, and to extend a hand for conversation on it, because we scratch the surface of this.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
There is a lot more science. There are Bible accounts with mothers taking care of their kid, and that we didn't get into. There's hard questions that I had down here that we didn't get into. The root of this is it's a tough situation. It's a tough.
There's a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of fear.
Yeah.
So that's not just one thing. Many times it's fear.
It's multifaceted.
Yeah, without a doubt. So you can't just. Sometimes it's just lack of education on it. So yeah, there's a lot of things there.
I don't want to say that it's one thing or I don't want to be that person, because in my own life conversations I've had with people, that is the mindset of, well, Christians just, they don't listen. Like, I don't want that. And the rashness of who I don't know. I'm kind of rambling right now, but
all right.
I hope you feel the heartbeat and see the extended hand for conversation on this. Next week is going to be another
interesting one.
Deep one, very culturally prevalent worldview. So we're going to be talking about LGBTQ and the identity problem that lies within
We're
that.
doing 2 parts on that, right?
Possibly, yeah. So
2 different avenues of that, yeah.
So the identity issue there, which as I've studied, it's the identity that is an issue in a lot of different areas of life. So
yeah, it actually dives into a lot of different areas.
So
all right, well, let's end it then.
All right. So
you guys have a wonderful week, and we hope this has been helpful to you. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Bye.